Welcome to the Spiritual Awakening with Shaz podcast, where we unlock the power within and navigate the journey of your self-discovery together. I'm Shaz, your spiritual mentor and life coach, here to help you tap into your inner guidance system and manifest your best life. Whether you're just beginning your spiritual journey or looking to deepen your practice, this podcast offers insights, techniques, and inspiration to elevate your consciousness and transform your reality. Get ready to shine your light and embrace your true potential. Remember, the answers are inside you. Let me be your guide on earth. Welcome to the Spiritual Awakening with Shaz podcast. Today I'm joined by the beautiful Kat Lopez, co-founder of Reaching and Rooted, a publishing company devoted to helping authors transform their lived experiences into books, with a specialty in mind, body, and spirit healing. Kat's path into this work wasn't a straight line. She began in corporate finance and marketing, which is a great building background for her publishing business. Her journey through loss, addiction, burnout, and renewal of her body, mind, and spirit health ultimately led her to design a publishing model that blends structure with soul, creativity with ownership. Through Reaching and Rooted, Kat partners with authors who feel called to write but don't want to lose themselves in the process. Her approach is deeply intentional. Authors retain creative control, ownership, long-term wealth, and support from idea to global distribution. She believes publishing isn't just about producing a book, it's the ultimate expression of her author's purpose. It's building something aligned, sustainable, and true. Welcome, Kat. I'm so glad that you're here. And I love this aspect of publishing that you're in because it's very aligned for me personally. I am writing a book right now, so meeting you was very fortuitous. Can you share a little bit about who you are, what you do in the mind, body, and spirit wellness space, and how that work shows up through R&R?
Oh, I love it. Thanks for having me, Shaz. I'm very excited to be here too. My name's Kat. I'm talking to you out of chilly Fort Worth, Texas. And I am a publisher that loves to help others obtain further health, hope, and harmony by finding their very special cocktail of body, mind, and spirit healing. It could be all sorts of things. We'll get into that, I'm sure, throughout the pod. As far as, who I am, when I'm not leading our beautiful team of 14 in 5 countries, 4 time zones, dozens of authors, I am a daughter. I am a friend. I am a musician. I am a writer through and through that understands the very intimate journey it takes of putting your heart and soul to the page and what it means to share that with the world and try to make an impact, even if it's just with one person. So many things I could say, but also for fur mama of 4, if that counts for anything. But
Fur mamas are good. I love that. And that's a great guitar up there. So what sort of music do you like to do, and how did music help you in your pathway?
Music was probably one of the first catalysts to words I had, from whether it was the womb and growing up in my very Hispanic family with loud music and parties and dancing with the broom Saturday mornings, cleaning and stuff. The lyrics and the beat always stood with me, and I guess that's where I first started kind of indulging in lyric writing, specifically poetry. And that very young age, probably 7 or 8, found myself wandering into that world. And it became an expressive art for me during a time where, I was kind of going some of that big T trauma at a young age. I was getting some early hits of things I needed to clear in my body, mind, and spirit. And poetry was part of that. Writing piece was part of clearing initially,
I love that because that's what journaling and writing stories was about for me as a young child too. I used to do lots of writing and creative stories about horrible things.
Yes. Okay. I thought it was just me.
It really reflected the inner mind. It was amazing. So what kind of authors and stories do you feel most drawn to supporting, and what makes a message feel especially aligned for you and your brand?
Mm. Well, right now, in the last 3 years out of six that we've been alive, Reaching and Rooted has been focusing on exclusively body, mind, and spirit healing. That can be all sorts of things, from helping folks that are in somatic practices, like perhaps yoga or strength conditioning, or getting in touch with tapping, or um, maybe it's the mind side of things, whether it's supporting social workers or therapists or mindset coaches, maybe even people like you, Shaz, in the spirit side of things that are helping people get in touch with their guides and their angels and their support systems. And well, there's so many modalities. I know I haven't experienced them all yet. And those are the ones the stories I want to share. Secretly, I want to learn from you guys. Well, we share the story. You know?
The best part about being in publishing is reading all that wonderful context. Like, there's so many stories out there and lived experience from people. It fascinates me each and every day, and it's part of why I created this podcast, to learn the history of people, where they come from, what they're about, what they do. Life's so varied compared to what we are, and I like to move out of isolated and insulated aspects to learn more cultures, more people, more connection. And it's quite funny because my last few guests on the podcast have, one's been from America, another one was from England, but he's actually from South Africa. And you've got a Hispanic background in America. And that's a very diverse bunch of people, and I love it.
Little. I love it too. I mean, and those are some beautiful stories that come out of that, right? And I think, to me, what's exciting, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too, is like you can see the thread between the stories that,
Absolutely.
connects from person to person. What have you seen that be, for
And
you?
the ironic part is, out of, so I've had, I know, maybe 8 to 10 guests on this podcast since its inception. And the last two were authors, but I've had like 4 or 5 authors on. Authors love to promote their books, and in the spiritual wellness area, they're aligned with what I talk about. I've had an artist, I've had a coach, I've had my cousin who's a bridal salon consultant and an advocacy hero, my flatmate who does the same sort of work that I do. I've had a eclectic bunch of people. It's great. But it is interesting how themes start to process in your life. So when the authors come in, and I'm like, that's just so aligned because I'm writing right now. And when you showed up in my world, I'm like, oh, I love how the universe works. I said I need a publisher, and here you are. And you're the
And I
second one
slid
that
into your
write for me
DMs.
too.
Oh, I love that. I love that, Shaz. And yeah, I mean, that synchronicity thing, I guess, is what I would call it. Kismet, maybe other people would call it.
It's
It's been a
manifesting
big
within
part,
us.
right? Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah. I tell the
I love
universe
it.
what I want, and they bring it. It's great. So
Gotta mind
before
those
you,
words.
yeah,
Just
before you
saying.
stepped into holistic publishing, what did you do? Explain a bit more about that finance and marketing aspect, and how did that early part of your life shape you into the person you are today?
Mm. Oh, I love this question. Well, going back to 7 or 8-year-old cat, always had that love of writing. Originally grew up in New York City in my parents' first business, and adopted the use of typewriters, if you remember those things,
I do.
and those big blocky computers and keyboards. And I just kept writing and writing, Shaz. I couldn't stop. And eventually I had to become an adult and figure out what I wanted to do for work. And well, young Cat heard this message over and over. Part of my story has been, well, you can't make money as a writer, the starving artist trope, that kind of thing. And God bless my first and second generation parents, immigrants to the country. They wanted the best for me. So they said, hey, you should follow part of the family lineage, go work in investments and banking. Okay, well, I will go write for the biggest one I can find. And I did that, did the college thing, and eventually ended up at a little spot called Fidelity Investments for about 11 years and did a lot of their corporate marketing, personal branding, storytelling, and even helped with some of their writing procedures and operations. So I got a lot of experience and well, it was quite a journey, but I kind of realized, thinking back on 7 or 8 year old Kat who she knew she was going to have a publishing house. How? I don't know, but we're here now. Thing is, I chose the long way to get here. And so I followed someone else's dream while trying to mold mine into it, you know? And well, after a couple years, maybe I'll save this for part of the spiritual awakening part. I realized I needed to start following my own dreams, and did a little jump ship just 3 months before COVID, and we're here now, you know?
Great timing too.
Publishing started booming in COVID because what do you do when you're stuck at home?
Right.
Write a book.
I know. I
Oh, thank goodness.
published Oracle deck of cards, affirmation deck of cards, 2 journals all through COVID. It was fantastic.
Oh my gosh. So
I
you're
love
right,
that
right, right.
because when I was little, I always used to say, if you ever asked me, I wanted to be a teacher. And then they say, oh, you want to be a school teacher? And I go, no, education sucks. Like the system is broken. And they go, what do you want to
Yeah,
teach
that's a
people
fact.
about? I want to teach people about life, about what the soul is here for, why we're here. And it manifested and evolved into this coaching business that I have. And
Wow.
this is where this podcast was birthed from, to teach
Mm.
people about the soul, the spirit, the awakening aspect of being more than just self. Yes, we are human beings, but we're so much more. We are so capable and abundant and available, and we don't tap into anywhere near enough of who we really are.
That's right. Why do you think that is, Shaz?
I wish I knew, and that's why I want to light people up one person at a time. It's my mission in life, is to activate people to tap into consciousness and collective consciousness, to really awaken and strive into greatness. All
Mhm.
imagination and invention is connection back to source God. It's amazing what is offered up for us when we imagine and believe. But as children, we all know what our mission is, and we do unfortunately get
That's right.
steered away from it. I went into administration and customer service and worked in that for 25 years. And all the way through it, all I ended up doing was teaching people things. I was
Oh,
always the teacher of whatever it was, whether it was computers or writing or messaging. And when
training.
coaching awoken within me, it naturally tapped into my psychic medium stuff. This part of me never went away throughout my whole journey, but it was hidden in many aspects through my corporate life because they all think I'm weird. But they also wanted to know how I knew everything, and they couldn't understand. But they would still come for advice, each and every one of them.
Wow. Oh, Shaz, you just really unlocked a big epiphany for me there. Because I could take that page out of your book and easily fit it into mine. Like, I didn't even realize that some of the gift we have in the publishing is totally tied to my intuitive ability to
Sure.
extract stories from folks. And until I just heard your story and talking about that power of storytelling, what it can do for people, I would not have realized that just now. That,
You're welcome.
yeah, yeah, big thank you. Oh, beautiful.
I love that. And it's amazing what simple, different perception can tell you about anyone. And you never know. All through my life, when I look back at it, people have always come to me for counseling of services of some sort or other. They would come to me for advice, for intuitive insight, for deeper
Yeah,
understanding of what was this or what was that. And I always had much greater awareness of the world. I've been connected to spirit and source since I was 2. I've always remembered it. I've tried to lock it down and ignore it on many occasions because some of the stuff,
yeah,
when I explain it to people, I could be locked up in an institution for it. But it is something that I embrace wholeheartedly now. I will debate, argue, or converse with anyone on it. I love perspective. I love understanding. I don't know it all, and I learn new things from people each and every day. And storytelling, the funny part about stories and books is I'm very connected to spirituality and the spiritual world. And when things don't align and it's too far out of my understanding and my perception, I don't align with certain books and things like that because they're just not
Sure.
real. But when
Right.
something's real, I pick it up. I can't put it down. There are certain aspects that will just draw you deeper and deeper inside.
Mm, those are my favorite ones. I'm sure we have a few people in common on the shelf. I can feel it,
No
you
doubt.
know? Oh,
So, was there a particular season or internal shift that began to clarify your deeper mission? And did it happen personally or professionally, or were they combined?
mm, oh, definitely combined. One of my business mantras, which is also a personal mantra now, is um, business is personal.
Sure is.
Okay. Um, I've certainly seen myself carry lots of my personal journeys, lessons, and blessings into biz and have to sort of relearn it from a different aspect and perspective, you know? But I guess like moments that come to mind, would it be appropriate to go into part of the spiritual awakening
Absolutely.
piece here?
That's where we're here.
Yeah, okay. I love that I can share this with you and the lovely listeners here, and I look forward to those stories. So we fast forward a little bit in young Kat's life, and she started at Fidelity, and she's swinging through the corporate ladder, doing backflips, just going up, down, all around, right? Well, I kept doing that thing that corporate will do to you, which is burn you out, especially if you don't have those boundaries, those energetic, spiritual, and real life boundaries that you need to have. And so 2015 rolls around. I was really feeling it, Shaz. You know, I'm 25 at the time. I'm living the American dream, they say. Uh, white picket fence, house, married, the six-figure plus career, everything. Okay. But inside and outside, I was sick
Yeah.
spiritually, mentally, physically. Um, I started addressing some stuff that I know my therapist authors would appreciate, but it wasn't enough. I started getting tested for early heart attacks, and having to take pills to just maintain my health. And, well, right around end of 2015, 2016, I started having one of those moments you were referencing that might get you locked up in one of them white houses, Like, I started experiencing my first synchronicities, and it would come to me in the form of numbers,
Hmm.
coincidences, the perfect line playing on the radio as soon as I turned it on, giving me the answer to what I was just asking for. And at one point, I just thought source, God, spirit, Allah, whatever you'll call it, was just bashing me over the head, was just trying to get my attention, but I could not figure it out. And when I Googled it, I was like, is it schizophrenia? Or is it, it's like, have you ever had that moment? You know?
I have so many clients that tell me the same thing. I never had it in that way, but the repetitive signs and the have I got your attention yet? For me,
Yes.
my mission also is to warn people and to highlight that when your
Mm.
soul and your intuition is trying to get your attention, it will put everything in your pathway. Signs, synchronicities, songs, people, the same message over and over and over again until you get it. And if you continue to ignore it, last line of defense is your body. It will hit your body. The body keeps the score. If you won't pay attention, it
Great
will
book.
hit you with disease or a health crisis, an accident, an injury. It will show up in a way that says, wake the fuck up, or you're going to go downhill into burnout and you're not going to be able to call yourself back. I
Oh,
want to highlight that people need to pay attention to those signs. They are diverting you and pivoting you into alignment with your truth. And the one thing you can't run from is your inner truth, right? Everyone says they want to escape from life. They want to run away from whatever situation. I want to leave that job. I want to do this. I want to do that. But you have to remember, wherever you go, there you are. You can't run from yourself. You go everywhere with you.
That's right. That's right. It, and actually what I found was the harder I ran, great segue here, Shaz. The harder I ran, the more I tried to dissociate because it wasn't enough. All those health crises, all the synchronous, it wasn't enough yet for me. And so, oh, okay, great. This bottle of alcohol, this 5 o'clock drink, that sounds awesome. That's where I'm going to go, you know? And that's where that addiction piece really started, kicking up real hard as I was like not understanding what was happening, trying to talk to. I didn't have a Shaz in my life. I didn't have any other spiritual folks in my life that could understand what I was talking about, and would hear me out when I'm trying to. I then started having some intuitive stuff kind of coming to me, like prophetic dreams and knowing things ahead of knowing them and being way freaked out and not knowing who to talk to about that. And like, again, not realizing people like Shaz exist. Go see her if you're thinking about it. Just saying. But like, yeah, instead I went completely into disassociation mode and the problems grew and grew, and year after year passed, and bonus after bonus, and the golden handcuffs kept me tied for quite some time. But it all ended up, catching up 16, 17, 18, 19, just 5 months before COVID. My body at this point, I'm already sick. I'm already feeling all these things that nothing that a 20-something-year-old should go through. And I had the worst holiday season you could. So in America, we love doing this big old Thanksgiving thing and the Christmas thing, you eat a lot of food. Shaz, I think I had picked up tonsillitis, pneumonia, and bronchitis, and maybe there was a fourth lung-related disease. I can't even remember, all at one time. Didn't have a lick of Thanksgiving dinner, and I was just down for the count on inhalers, all sorts of stuff. And I'd already been fumbling in my mind because, thankfully, I found one friend that I could talk to at work that didn't look at me like I had three heads.
I love those friends, don't you?
Oh, they get you through,
Yeah.
They get you through. And, she gave me a little guidance, but ultimately, my body hit a breaking point and I'd already started thinking in my mind, well, what if, what could it look like? I know I'm not happy here. I know that I'm following everyone else's dream but mine. And maybe, just maybe, it's actually showing up in my body, mind, and spirit. Maybe that's what's happening here. Like, allow myself to entertain the thought. It didn't take long, week or two of, I just started getting into meditation at the time and actually starting to nurture my spiritual gifts and find people on YouTube and the socials and just start to integrate. So, about 2 weeks later, I put my notice in. And about a month before the new year, so yeah, end of 2019, I released myself from the lie that I was living.
Yeah.
And to embrace what authenticity could look like. I did about a good month or two of a lot of hot yoga, trailing, meditation, journaling, all the things I could possibly. I just dove right in, you know? Um, and then Reaching and Rooted was birthed January 2020, after I had a little bit of time to try to find who I was again. But I wasn't exactly sure how this new cat being authentic to herself would look, because I spent so much time being inauthentic to myself.
Yeah. And that's the hard part. I went through lots of that in my early 20s. I had all sorts of disease and lung problems. I left school early and I didn't get to finish my education the way I wanted to. Not really by choice, but you roll with the punches of how life shows up for you. Managed to forge a career, managed to rise in the ranks of this company, a big telecommunications company here in Australia called, was Telecom when I started, it's Telstra today, and was going places in it. Hated it, hated life, hated everything about it. And I just got hit with, I went through the same as you. I got glandular fever first, then I got pleurisy, then I got pneumonia, then bronchiolitis, and the asthma started. I had lung conditions after lung conditions after lung conditions. And finally, I managed to get a redundancy from that place, and I had great plans of what I wanted to do. But that was in the early 90s. And I was a single woman without support, without network, and I couldn't get the few things that I wanted to align into place. And that set me on a different pathway. And then in the late 90s, I went back to work and did other things and ended up injuring my back. And that still didn't divert me to where I really wanted to be. But it took me through a whole lot of healing. It was through that and the pain management of either getting addicted to pain drugs because I was in excruciating pain. I literally could not move my head 5 degrees. My neck was all stiff and bad. And I had the choice of physio and drugs, where I chose physio and holistic practice. So I would meditate and I would calm my energy and I would do breathing exercises without knowledge of anything. But I just knew I did not want to get addicted to drugs and painkillers, because that to me was a deep dive down an avenue that was never open for me. Like I had scripts and scripts of drugs, and I eventually took them back to my pain management specialist and said, you need to have these back. And he goes, why aren't you taking them? I'm gone, because I don't like the way they make me feel. I don't like that out of control feeling. I don't drink. I've never taken drugs of any sort. I've taken prescription drugs that were necessary at the time for pain relief. But even then, I would go the low scheme end. And even nowadays, I don't even take Panadol unless I'm half dying. Like,
I feel that same way. I feel that same way because our bodies are so strong, you know, and I think, like you said, it's important for when you need to have it. And I think only someone can determine that for themselves, but we have everything we need inside of us. Our body's such a beautiful self-healing vessel, you know?
And since I fully stepped into that healing aspect and I learnt Reiki back in 2008 and changed the way that I used my body and practiced my self-healing and connected to my soul spirit, I'm in the best health that I have to say that I've literally ever been in. And I love life. My last layer of discontent is my body is larger than I want, but I'm moving in the right direction for that. But it works well. I can do so much more than I ever realized. And I love everything about it. The disease factor haunted me most of my life. I still have niggles here and there, but nothing like I did in the 20s. But the time, the big difference, like I wish I had those symptoms and problems in my 20s in 2020 like you did. Mine was back in the 1990s, where stepping into this practice, this business and fully embracing what I'm doing now, it just wasn't available at the time. So I still had to push on and struggle through, and I didn't get that freedom and release until major health issues sat me on my ass and in my early 40s. But I'm so grateful for the last 10 years of finally choosing me and aligning my pathway with who and what I am to bring about what's going on right now, because it's the perfect timing because of so many people really seeing these synchronicities as no longer coincidence and dismissing them and truly awakening up to there is more. We are here for reasons and purpose. And when you live in purpose and passion and do things for yourself or for the greater good, you have the best success of your life. And you're not working your ass off for someone else to get rich, who, if you fall down, get sick or get injured tomorrow, are going to replace you 3 seconds later.
Yeah, just a number, you know? I tell you, I remember 508,892. I will never forget that. And be released from being that number and putting myself first.
Yeah.
Jazz, I gotta tell you, you are a way shower, a path maker. The folks that came before, the cat in 2015, 2016, 2020, trying to figure it out. And it is because of folks that like you that decided to follow your authenticity that have allowed us this opportunity to comfortably explore the path. And yeah, maybe occasionally get looked at like I have three heads, but not all the time anymore, you know?
Weed's the new good.
Sorry?
Weed is the new good.
Oh yes, we're in, baby.
Now,
we're
the
we're
better
we're
off in life.
I love that. Oh my goodness. And I will say none of it's really linear, right? Just a quick little side trail here. Um 2020 hit and it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows from there, you know. It's very easy to take the prison you created in someone else's cubicle and create that prison for yourself in the outside world. You did that too. I had a feeling. I had a feeling. Well, after I did the Great Escape and the Great Reset, uh, I actually started trying to pay attention to this thing called intuition and lean into it a bit more. Actually, listen to it in my entrepreneurship and spiritual journey. Because for me, going back to that business is personal thing, they were one and the same. They still are. This is the greatest spiritual journey I've ever been on. Is this entrepreneurship journey and helping other people share their stories. You know.
Me too.
So fast forwarding a little bit, I met a publisher in 2020 very quickly. I got all my first clients very fast within like 2, 3 weeks. I was shocked. Actually, that source had that cushion for me to land into if I just listened to them, right? I mean, gosh. And, but I did do that thing of taking one prison and transferring it to another. I fell in love with this thing that we call books, you know?
Yep.
But I didn't quite leave the addiction journey behind immediately. And I was still trying to fit into someone else's mold. And although I was finding that love of like watching people holding their story for the first time or being with them throughout the steps of what, putting a book out, sort of like the process of life, birth, and death in one. That's what I tell every single one of my authors. You got to think about it, giving life, giving birth, right? Letting an old chapter, couple of chapters die, and it's life. But I fell in love, and but then also realized that I was living someone else's template as their, came in as a writer, eventually did every position in publishing to become their COO as like an ops director, and then realize, wow, like even though I'm working on kids' books and cookbooks and, poetry books and alien fiction and business books, I did have the pleasure of a couple of spiritual books that just really piqued my interest because they were speaking my language, Shaz. And I was like, oh, we're both three-headed dragons over here. Let me see, let me see what we got. Eventually, although there was the dalliance with the books and falling in love with the industry and applying all those big corporate marketing operations strategy there, the drinking caught up with me and that inauthentic part of what I was stifling as I was still living other parts of my life. There was still parts I was holding back. And 2022 comes around and after well, you know what happens sometimes. You make really dumb decisions drinking. You might write a few stories that should have never gone out, that kind of thing. And I really hurt someone that I was close to.
Oh, sorry.
And I remember that's all right. Yeah. I appreciate that. um I'll tell you the happy ending to that. We're married now. uh but I remember a really terrible phone call at the top of the rooftop of my first publishing house, beautiful building in Cincinnati, Ohio. And 7:30 in the morning, kind of hitting that bottom of the barrel. For me, it was that final piece,
Yeah.
you know, um, to truly catalyst my body, mind, and spirit healing journey. So um, that was that. I chose sobriety that day, and I also chose that I'm gonna make that leap again into authenticity.
Yeah.
You know, and if my love of books is centralized in the body, mind, and spirit healing space, which is also my journey, then I'm going to lean fully into it. Me and the publisher had a pretty friendly ending as best as we could, good friend. And it took some time to travel and rebirth Reaching and Rooted after a few months. And then January 2023, so just over 3 years from the date of this recording,
Yeah.
this is what we've been doing. And growing a publishing house, a home really for folks that are in our space to feel comfortable sharing their journey, know how to do it, and reach the people, maybe young cats and Shazes who might need them at their bottom of the barrel, at their moment of their catalyst for change.
And I get that. I hear so much of myself in that story. I didn't go the addiction route. As I said, drugs and things weren't for me from childhood trauma and things I'd seen and lived through at a very young age. But I self-sabotaged, self-sacrificed. I suffered so much trauma in wanting to repair things that I didn't even fully understand I needed to repair. And part of this whole journey is I'm fully believing in past life,
Yes.
healing through the past life, through the lineage. And I'm the person in our family that stood up for all of this hell, as I call it. I surrogated energy so that I would suffer so other people didn't. And they're flourishing and it's wonderful. And I'm so grateful that they can.
Yeah.
But recently, and around that 2020 time, 2021 to 2022, is when I turned around and I finally said, those old contracts, those old sacrifices, that old trauma had to go.
Yes.
And the deep spiritual healing took place. I have been diagnosed with CPTSD. I had it so bad in 2007. I had a hiccup spasm in my body 24 hours a day for 10 months.
Oh.
Because my trauma was so buried deep that it had nowhere to go. And all that would happen is I had this unprocessed and locked down rage and anger that I wouldn't allow free rein.
Yes.
Because I didn't want to feel the true pain of what I'd been through or understand what it was all about. And it literally took losing my children and that miscarriage for that pain to find an outlet of having to release that and realize the core reason for it and to delve deeper into, is this all just this lifetime? What am I carrying from previous lifetimes? What do I have to heal? What do I have to process to set myself free? It didn't happen in time because in 2010 I had to have a hysterectomy. Then I couldn't have children. And that was like the rock bottom aspect of realizing that there has to be work. There has to be a reason for all this. And there has to be more than just suffering. That happened in 2010. I can only tell you I'm starting to thrive through it now. It's taken 15 years of deep healing, deep trauma releasing, but it's led me to where I am today and meeting beautiful people like you. No story is better than each other. No person's journey is better. It's just different, and how we relate to it matters. I want to use my journey, my struggle, my self-sacrifice, the old people pleaser that I was, the surrogate that I used to be. My favorite line is that all you've got? come at me like, no more crickets or delete that shit. We don't do that anymore. Come on, knock me out again, sort of thing. I'm so
Yes.
grateful. I've never been a victim to domestic violence. I help people with it. But the universe would throw me knocks, my soul would throw me knocks, and I just get back up again. And I want to help people do that. These things are there to divert you. That is their only mission, to move you towards where you're meant to be and who you're meant to be, and to own that person, show up as them, and embrace life the way you're supposed to. We are not
Yes.
here to suffer. We are not here for hardship. We are here for ease, grace, love, bliss, abundance, appreciation, gratitude, everything that's good. Our only problem is we don't learn through that shit. We learn through the hard stuff.
Yeah. But isn't that true? Yeah, you absolutely grow through the pain. Oh, so much. I could say the same thing right towards you, Shaz. And maybe that's actually more common of a thread through many of our stories that we just don't talk about out loud and we don't acknowledge. Because we've all got pain. We all go through trauma of some sort,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But it's the fact that, and this is what makes me so passionate about what I do, is that because we keep that locked inside to allow it to fester in the ways it had for us, we're not only doing ourselves a disservice by the pain, we're basically stabbing ourselves in the heart, by not releasing, by not turning that pain into passion, into purpose. Maybe you publish it to help someone else get out of their pain, turn it into passion, into purpose. You see this trickle down that happens. But when we are able to share that story and allow someone to see a piece of themselves in us, whether that's dark or light, doesn't matter, but to know that if they can see a piece of of themselves in us, that it could be that moment of change for them. And that's why I want to do what I'm doing here. Because, I didn't go into it too explicitly, but you're right. Behind the symptoms of addiction for me, behind the symptoms of the physical illnesses, the lung illnesses, which I'm wondering, that's got to be a throat chakra thing, I think. But anyway,
Love's about
behind that.
right to live. It's the belief that you don't have a right to live or have purpose in this world. It's
That's
that
right.
you are not living the way that you're intending to, and that you're living a life that's not really yours. So the aligned aspect is you were living somebody else's dream, and that's why your lung condition showed up for you to go and live your own dream, because you can't live, breathe, and survive doing something for someone else. It doesn't work.
Never. I call myself a recovering codependent. And that trauma thing is the whole reason a lot of that addiction was happening. I didn't want to think about it. I could just make it go away. I could just dissociate from it.
Most
But
people do.
you said something so powerful. I too believe in generational and ancestral healing. And even beyond the trauma piece, which I won't name names, but I've come to find out I wasn't the only one that went through it in my family for many, many generations, But there are some underlying topics related to that trauma that we had to heal generationally, You hit it the nail on the head, the worthiness piece, being seen, and not allowing, not, I'm sure you heard this growing up, children are to be seen, not heard, or something. Is that how that goes? There's a couple of those beliefs that I come to find out during a recent journey were generational and ancestral. And those are the things that I'm trying to spend a lot more time healing now. And ironically, Shaz, you said you're on a body journey. Same, because of course, synchronicity. How is that not going to be there? It's interesting as I've been on this journey. I'm doing like workouts 5 or 6 days a week. It's insane. I like hear myself say that. I'm also like, that's insane. But it's stuff I like, like hot yoga, different strength lifting. And what I'm finding is that some of these generational beliefs and patterns are actually coming out during the somatic work that I'm doing.
And somatic release is amazing. It is so powerful and needed in this world. There are so many people who turn to addiction not to face their demons or the thoughts in their head or their traumas.
Yeah.
You can lock it down, bury it all you like, but all that's going to happen is one day when the timing is right, someone out there is going to trigger you. And that trigger is going to show you that you're ready to release it, and it's going to come up one way or another. I pray and hope, wish, everything in me wants people to do it before that explosion happens in a detrimental way to your physical well-being. Because the more you lock it down, the more it creates disease like cancer, autoimmune disease, heart conditions, lung conditions, blood conditions. All of these problems in our body are emotionally related that we lock into our system because we don't want to face it. Healing can be gentle, it can be frustrating. Very recently, to let go of some of my past trauma from child abuse, I had to do the last elements of the somatic, which was primal screaming. My God, Kat, the sounds that came out of my mouth were phenomenal. And I had to scream through 7 chakras in my body, talking about it. I get full body tingles for the release of what it was. Yesterday, I shared, and I wish I can quickly find the quote of it, but this really powerful quote that someone said, their psychologist said, I'm just going to quickly see if I can find it for us right now.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'm curious.
It changed me in so many different ways. Like you said, that one little iota that someone can say that makes a big difference. This quote says, my therapist once said, anger is the part of you that loves you the most. It recognizes when you're being mistreated, neglected, or disrespected. It's a signal to step away from places that don't serve you well. It alerts you when it's time to leave a room, a job, a relationship, or old patterns that no longer work for you. Learn to listen to your anger and make it your best friend. Only then will it subside. We don't face anger. We hide from anger. We are made to feel ashamed of our anger. But that anger has a real purpose. And this statement, like the full body recognition of truth that sits in my heart from rereading it and sharing it again, matters because it's a massive truth. The only people I get angry, or the only time I really get angry nowadays, and I'm very mindful of not being angry, are usually when I am disrespected, being talked down to, being made insignificant, being neglected, or having those sort of issues. And I've felt the shame associated with it because, oh my God, we shouldn't feel those things and we shouldn't do that, and we don't have expectations of other people. But that anger does have a purpose, and I am now going to turn that into my best friend to realize what is really going on here. What is that anger showing me as the truth? And that's what the primal screaming was about, the release of that anger from the physical sexual abuse that I suffered. It hurt, and I never got to cry about it, to scream about it, to rail at it, and to face the person that did it, and they're dead now. So how else can you get it out of the body? This release was mind-blowing. It was phenomenal, and I feel so free, so light, so loved. And the way my abundance has changed, the way my receptivity in this world has changed, and the way the peace in my house has changed. Like nowadays, if I'm feeling anger towards someone, and it was right around that time I cut off someone in my life that I'm not, who causes that anger by what they say and do. And I was trying to work out, is it my responsibility? Am I not growing here? But it is simple disrespect of the ownership of what they're trying to portray, which is not true. And I don't do well with lies, and I don't do well with untruth. I endeavor to be truly authentic and congruent and totally aligned with what I say. I show up as I am. I do the work. I don't turn around and preach to you. Do as I say, don't do as I do. I'm a do as I do. Follow me as we do it together. If you're going to walk this line, if you're going to grow through this, I'm going to do it with you. I'm not going to go and tell you to do it and do the opposite 5 minutes later. It is one of the biggest bugbears in my life of when I was growing up. I had so much aspects where there was all of this hypocrisy, and I can't tell you how much I despise it, where you went to church and religion and follow these rules, do as I say, let's walk outside and break the rules. But if I come and ask for forgiveness, it's okay.
Right.
Sorry to say.
Just wipe it away every
not.
Sunday. No problem.
It is not. It causes trauma in your body. You can go and repent and ask for forgiveness and all of that. But if you're looking at, when we look at repentance, you're looking at forgiveness from an external party. The forgiveness has to come from yourself.
That's right.
You have to find inner alignment with who and what you are. So the forgiveness for self for this anger, I can now do my Ho'oponopono aspects and my deep somatic work and my tapping of aligning myself to know that anger is okay, because I was always taught that anger is not. And my mother was my biggest trigger and teacher from all the problems that I suffered with the trauma with her. And every time I got angry, I couldn't even talk or express what I wanted. I'd just cry and then I'd leave because my anger would manifest into, I'd want to like punch someone out, but I don't choose to be that person.
Yes. Oh, goodness. We definitely have some threaded stories there. And I've got to ask you about, well, later on, I want to hear about the screaming, the guttural. Oh, that sounds like such a release.
Phenomenal. Like,
wow.
It is. And I would seriously share it on here, but people, I do not want to blow your eardrums. The sounds that it made. I tell people and I tell clients, if you ever feel so mad or angry, go put on your favorite pop song or your rock song or whatever screaming song you want to do and go scream the shit out of it and see how you feel 5 minutes later. And if it doesn't work on the first song, play it on repeat and just scream it and scream it and scream it till you're hoarse. And sometimes you do. You have to scream until you're hoarse. It's a kinetic energy that has to be physically released from the body.
I'm so excited. Yeah, I'm so with you on that. And I think I have some cool homework coming up from you, Shaz. So that's gonna be real nice. And yeah, I love that we're talking about this topic because there's so much. I felt that same thing, like shame, or you can't talk about it, or just don't be angry, just calm down, keep the water nice and still, clear. No, and all these things that are done, said, implied, etc. to us to lessen what I've been calling lately, and I ask Source for this in some of my prayers in the mornings, is like, please let me feel life in full technicolor. I want to feel
what you wish for.
Yes, we talked about those powerful words, right?
Okay. I ask spirit that, and I feel I'm an empath, and I feel so many different things, especially when I'm doing readings and connecting with dead people. I ask to feel everything, and I felt people dying in the harsh ways of things that happened. Be careful what you wish for when you say that. I want to feel it to a degree, but not in my physical body.
Yes, and let me tell you, intuitive for sure. Like, and that is probably my strongest kind of ability, I guess, for lack of a term. But I've been denying the fact that I'm actually a bit of an empath too. And not to go too far back in history here, but back to 7 or 8 year old Kat, for a moment. I remember my father went through this moment of, he had the ability to, but it was driving him crazy. He was deeply Catholic. So none of that was okay in the eyes of the church and all that. And he got into, there's a word for it, a spirit photography.
Or
and yes, and where you can, see the lights or things and very clearly. And I remember he almost got into like this obsession where we'd be going to different prayer grounds for Catholics and anytime near the statues, he would take photos and he just over and over and he would see it. And he seemed really freaked out at the same time that he was fascinated. And in my young mind, I don't know. I'm seeing it too, but I don't know. It's normal to me, But about from then, there was some, fear of God, if you will, that was put into me about seeing, you know? And I think from a young age really started asking to not see anything physically. And and as I've gotten older and I've taken the ride now through is holistic publishing, but with this intuitive ability to pull stories out from folks that might be stuck or blocked, or maybe they're too busy and they're able to open up in our process. I'm starting to feel a bit more of that empath thing coming in again. And yeah, just trying to temper that with, remaining open to enhancing and being deeply curious and exploring these abilities, but also like no offense, Shaz, I do not want to see dead people. No dead people. I'm good. Show
Don't
me when
look
you're
dead.
alive.
They look
No.
alive.
Do they? Because in my
Yes.
mind, they look
No, they don't.
zombie-ish and all this
They're
other
not
stuff.
zombie-ish. They do not look like they were when they were dead. They are whole. When I see spirit, how they appear to me is just say I've got, like I'll talk about my nan. So when I see my nan died at 77 years old. She was frail. She was in a wheelchair. She was very skinny, very emaciated. She was skin and bones, right? When I see her happiest version of self was a 25-year-old young girl. And she comes to me literally doing the can, like picking that
I
leg
love
up.
that.
My nan had the best legs of anyone I know. She had amazing legs. And she dances like that. So she's young, she's 25, she's vibrant, she has this gorgeous figure, and she dances around the room and does the can. So
Oh,
when
that's so
spirit
cool.
die, they come to you as the best version of self. Many years ago, back around 2005, a dear friend of mine passed away, and she was about 47 years old when she died. She ended up with cardiomyopathy, and she literally lived 10 years to the day after her diagnosis.
Wow.
And she came to me in a dream when she left, and I knew she died that night. But when her sister rang me, I was devastated because we were very close. We didn't see each other all the time, but she was one of the people I met the first time I ever went to work. And she came and appeared to me as a 16-year-old young girl. She was young, glorious, because that was the best version of self that she knew of herself. So when spirit turn up, they will show you what they look like roughly as they died, so you can get an idea of who they are. But when I visually see them, and many psychics out there will tell you the same thing, they appear as the best version of themselves in that.
Yeah.
So it's like going to go, through this life, this is the body I choose forever after.
Wow. I'm trying to think, what would I choose anyway? But that's actually really helped. Maybe I'll be a little curious to allow more visually, I think.
Yeah. You don't see them like injured, hurt, emaciated, suffering from their cancer or anything. Even my godmother, when she comes through, she's young and healthy. It's when she was like happy with her young kids and stuff. And it's just as the best version of you that you are. When it's usually the most happiest time of whenever you were.
I love that. Okay. I can remain open to that, Shaz. I love that. I am definitely curious what else will continue to pop up and grow as, basically this journey of the spiritual awakening journey becomes more and more of like just being open, being open to what comes to us naturally, or maybe with some work with someone like yourself that can help coach through what you've been through and what might be just starting for others. So just putting that out there.
That's why I got into this. So let's start to wrap up a little bit. How do you see storytelling for authors as part of the healing journey? And if there is a potential author out there, how do they reach out to you? What is the process, and what are the first steps that you say to someone that comes along and says, I think I've got a book idea, I don't know what to do? Guide me through.
Love it. So as far as uh Shaz, can you just run that back one more time? Is that possible? Because I think there was like two
That's okay.
questions and I
So,
got caught up.
how do you see storytelling as part of the healing journey?
Mm, okay. Let's start there. I think, yeah. Love that. So storytelling as part of the healing journey, more and more we're giving words to that, if you will. Recently, an author actually referenced the act of writing, like the physical act of writing, like your hand hurting or like you're going at the keyboard for quite a while, as actually a form of somatic release for him and a huge part of his healing journey. Now, he went through like the extraction process with us, which I realize there's probably folks listening, I don't know what that is. It's not teeth, it's story, right? So we extract the story, and he gave some good feedback about um, the act of being able to sit in front of another human being, that was me, and be able to not only share his story, but allow that human being to be curious and to maybe go a little deeper into the parts, the blood, the sweat, the tears, the joy, the grief, the happiness, the pain, like, and to really be able to explore it from a place outside of the mind, his mind, So, um, I never marketed this way, but he also mentioned it's almost a form of business and personal therapy. So it's been a few descriptors, but my take on it, being a lifetime writer that now helps other writers get their words out, uh, it's an act of release for us in general. I mean, you tell me a single journal, gratitude, desperate prayer to God, or whatever it is that you took that time to pen down for a moment. It is a healing and releasing process just to get it out of you, you know? And in this very specific space of body, mind, spirit healing, we as entrepreneurs, founders, and healers, change makers in this world, this is sort of what I view, what the company views as the ultimate expression of sharing your story, both personally, what you went through, and professionally, and the case studies that have been a testament of your work, your modality. And now going worldwide, 200 plus countries, 45,000 retailers, schools, libraries. I don't know of more like a bigger testament you can give to the world, something that'll be here as old as the ancient books, thousands of years later, helping people, you know?
And for a budding author who thinks they may have a story inside, how is the best way for them to connect or reach out or have a discussion with someone about, is it worthy of publication? Is it something they want to share? What's the journey entail?
Mm. I think the first step is just being open and uh, being open to a human being, or maybe a team like mine, stepping with you in that journey. And if you're not sure if you've got a story locked inside, spoiler, you have a story locked inside that can help people. If it's helped even just one person, and that's you, we've got a few ways to help you figure that out. You can, of course, visit us at www.reachingandrooted.org. You can reach out to us there on the social media. We're reaching and rooted _ on all social platforms. So real easy. And I mean, I'd love to have a one-on-one conversation with you and maybe do a little pre-extraction if you're not quite sure what the story is, So you can reach out to me as well. I'm the real Cat Lopez, one word, on all social platforms. So you're always welcome to reach out, whether it's via text, email, one of those social platforms, and you'll always get a human being, no AIs on the other side, ready to help guide that story that you've been keeping and carrying. But Shaz, I'll share this. I did something real special for your pod. I put together a gentle guide for the story that you've been keeping and that you keep carrying inside. So if you would allow it, I would love to share this with the audience and give you guys a free copy of this guide. Just a couple questions to get you thinking if you've got that story or not, you know?
Fantastic. And I'll add all of Kat's links, download links, contact details in the podcast details for you to look up. Please reach out and have a chat to her. She has amazing capacity to help you pull out that story inside. Just through a few conversations that I've had with her, I've uncovered different aspects, and it gave me another 4 or 5 chapters in my book already. So she's a master at what she does, and her conversation skills are fantastic. I really appreciate your time and effort today. Thank you for sharing your journey, your story, and all of who you are. Just one last question. For someone listening who's in a similar spot to where you were or what you've been through, or even your younger self, what advice would you have about the spiritual journey, the awakening aspect, or paying attention to your signs and synchronicities?
Just trust it. God makes no mistakes, no matter what you define that as. And that includes the signs, synchronicities, intuitions, those little sparks of energy that you feel going up and down your body. That is all signs and symptoms that there is something greater trying to guide you. And maybe if you listen, you might be able to save yourself 11 years, like I did. Just listen.
Love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kat. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to sharing this episode with the world. Until next time, everyone. Thanks for listening to the Spiritual Awakening with Shaz podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe down below so you don't miss an episode. You can also follow us on Facebook with the links below. Until next time, trust your intuition and let your spirit soar.